you probably noticed this in your programs, in the DDS system, the autism sex ratio is 5 to 1. 5 males to every 1 female. What we see in the research literature is a little bit different. The most common finding is a 4 to 1 ratio, male to female. Although some of the newer findings are suggesting more like 3 to 1, male to female. It kind of depends on how you define autism. DDS has a stricter definition of autism than those other academic studies, so that might explain the discrepancy. That with the more severe autisms, you might have a higher male prevalence. In terms of other demographic trends, this is an ethnicity profile. Again, this is from DDS. This is not a slide that I put together. This is a slide from Lauren Libero, who is the new DDS autism specialist. Did you know DDS actually created an autism specialist position? She spoke at our conference last year, and a lot of these graphics actually come from her presentation, so I will not take credit for them. But over the past 10 years, you can see really one significant change, which is a higher percentage of Hispanics being diagnosed with DDS autism as compared to the white population. Again, this is percentages, it's not absolute numbers. With Asian, Black, and other kind of remaining the same.
Is there a speculation why?
Well, I can speculate that, number one, I think that generally the Hispanic population in California is increasing faster than the white population. I think everybody knows that's true. I don't think I can account for that much of a change. That's probably a factor. I also think there's been a lot of effort on the part of DDS to do more case finding in the Hispanic community because they really came under fire, and justifiably so, for disparity issues, disparity of service issues.
What about in the educational system? Are they diagnosing more or seeing more?
I don't have the education data here. That's actually available online, and I can send you the link. It wouldn't be that hard to find out. I have not looked at that question. All right, so one change that they have seen in DDS over the past, again, this is just 10 years, so it's not really looking long term. I'm more interested in the longer term trends, but 10 years isn't nothing. We see more of the DDS autism population having a higher IQ. Now, what does that really mean? When I talked to Lauren Libero at DDS to try to dig into this data a little bit to figure out what it means, it was very hard to get a finer grained explanation for this. But basically, the blue means no intellectual disability. Okay, I kind of laugh at that because that could be an IQ of 70 with considerable autism traits. You can label that as no intellectual disability, but I know those people, and I laugh at the idea that you would give them a label of no intellectual disability. These are people with really, really considerable daily living challenges, social challenges, personal care challenges, often comorbid psychiatric challenges. And, it's, oh, they're blue. Those people don't have intellectual disability. This doesn't tell you anything about what these people are really like. And it also doesn't tell you if they have an IQ of 70, 71, 81, that's a big difference, 85, 90, it doesn't tell you that. A lot of these people in that borderline area, how many of you, are there any psychologists in the room? Yeah. So this is one of my big complaints about IQ, that you have this magic 70 number, and it's complete crock.
That doesn't exist anymore in the DSM-5. They get rid of it.
Yeah, well, the DSM is a different, in the 5, okay.
Yeah, so it was still in the DSM-4, but a lot of people think like you, and has been removed.
Okay. Well, at DDS, in all the regional center intakes, they do IQ testing. So that's what this data is from. My other big question is, how many of this population has behavior? Okay, IQ is important, but when you're a service provider, behaviors are often more important.
Yes.
And I've been trying actually for years to get behavior-related data. right? So that we can do a little more fine-grained analysis like this. I can't get it. And that's not, I can't necessarily say, oh, DDS, you're not responding to our Public Records Act requests. Problem is, their raw data, their CEDAR data is often not very good. Children versus adults. This is, again, another way of looking at the data I showed earlier. But the orange line is the autism line. And you can see kids, a gajillion, billion, trillion, kids with autism, and as we get older, almost no one with autism above the age of about 32. A very, 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 very small population. They're very hard to find, right?
So the majority of them are under 21,
Yeah.
basically.
The majority of them are, actually under 21.
Which the
This is the bubble that's coming.
Right.
This is the
state
nightmare that's gonna
supports
hit
that,
you,
yeah.
right? And you can see a little bit of this with intellectual disability, and then, of course, that's, you don't see much change with the other disabilities. I do wonder, however, with ID, especially with something like Down syndrome or some other syndromes where you have a shortened life expectancy, how much that plays into this data. Again, another way of looking at the data, 80% are children, only 20% are adults. For me, the scary thing about this data is it shows that the DDS adult population will grow 5 times over the next 20 years. All right? If you want to know probably the greatest social services crisis in California today, this is it. This should be headline news in every newspaper across our state, and absolutely nobody is talking about this. Again, I'm somebody who's talked to countless people who work for DDS, who work for the regional centers, who work for the agencies, who work for the schools. Nobody is denying this, but nobody is talking about it. One of the reasons, I will say, just as an aside, I think one of the reasons that nobody wants to talk about this is the vaccine scare, right? What I've seen, I work very closely with a lot of researchers. I've seen a lot of circling the wagons in autism research. People don't want to talk about the increase because they don't want to stoke the fire of the vaccine hypothesis. And I'm sure most of you guys know that there's this idea out there that vaccines cause autism. Vaccines do not cause autism, right? We all know that. But nevertheless, it remains a strong myth throughout the community and in the autism world. And for good reasons, right? Our public health leaders want to stomp out that fire, right? And I think one byproduct, one casualty of that has been truth with regards to the increase.
Jill, why is the percentage going down from adults? What happens to them? Like if there's more kids versus adults, are they?
Say that more, I'm not sure.
So I'm just confused, so 80% of children under 21 and 20% of adults, so over time, are you saying that there's just less adults because of what? Is it?
No, there won't be less. All these children will become adults.
Okay, that's for today, that's just right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, that's today, is a snapshot of today.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, thanks.
yeah, within 20 years, in 20 years.
It'll be like this.
Well, and they're actually, it's less than 20, because those people are all over 3, right? We're
Yeah.
talking like 17 years. They're all adults.